Do you remember how to do this?
Hi everyone, I'm Sandrine, this is Americ.
Hey.
It's been like almost a year.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a long minute.
But we're back just for Game of Thrones, just for you. And guess who else is back? It's Kenny. No, it's not Kenny.
Yeah, it's almost Kenny.
It's almost Kenny. Because Kenny actually couldn't make it this week, but he will be back next week. At least that's what he told us. So, but this is Erik, and if you guys have been watching our videos carefully, you would remember him from our video for last season's finale.
Yep.
Yeah, you made your appearance. He will be joining us this week, and also probably in future. I mean, if you don't
Depends how this goes.
if you don't hate us by the end of this.
Erik will be representing the book readers in this video.
He's also part of our Dungeons and Dragons group.
Oh
yeah.
I've shared like stuff about like dice boxes that we've had, all of the really cool stuff. He's made all of them.
You can follow him on Instagram, link below.
Instagram or Twitter.
Twitter at Blackfyre.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna talk about Game of Thrones.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's been so long.
Game of Thrones!
Game of Thrones! Season 8, Episode 1, called... We don't really know.
I don't know.
Some people say that the
Winterfell?
episode was called...
Winterfell?
Yeah, Winterfell?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're just happy it's back.
Right.
So I want to talk about first the opening,
Oh.
which has finally changed.
Okay, so flow-wise, it used to show like so many of the places of the kingdom, but now it's like really just going from the wall all the way to King's Landing.
The wall is
down.
It almost seems like it's the Night's King path.
But it went to King's Landing. Like,
No, it didn't go to King's Landing first.
Eventually.
No,
We started with the
yeah.
wall coming down, last Hearth, and then it jumped straight to Winterfell.
Yeah.
And then it seemed consistent with the show, with the way that the show was going.
Yeah.
Got it.
Moving on to Theon and Yara.
It's such a weird brother and sister relationship. Obviously.
Why?
Yeah, because, I don't know, like, clearly they love each other, but at the same time, she just headbutts him. Which is like, what?
I think she's just frustrated
Because
with the way that
he
he
didn't try
departed.
to save her.
I
Yeah.
know, but he saved her now. You know?
Yeah, that's why she's like, this was for you leaving me behind.
I just thought it was a weird way of saying thank you. That's all.
She thanked him by telling me that
She did extend her hand. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
That's
agree
how
with
they do.
Sandrine.
Yeah.
Where do you guys think this story is going to go between the whole Yara going
Oh,
back?
I don't think we'll see much of Yara. I think that she told him, go help the Starks, and so that's how they like get Theon to be part of the adventure.
I feel like Yara is going to play one of those like last minute coming out of nowhere moments. I feel like that's where I would see her coming through.
Possibly. It seems to me that she was going to take back the Iron Islands, and then she had talked about being a safe haven for the queen, right? So clearly she's still supporting Daenerys. It's just at what point or to what extent.
Got it.
Maybe she's going to take it back because her uncle has kind of solidified that seat. So we'll see where that goes.
I mean, she's definitely coming back in my opinion. For sure.
Moving on to Last Hearth, which first Tormund and Beric made it.
Yep.
They're alive.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of
Yeah.
knew, but they're alive.
Now we know.
Ed, right, is the one that they
Right.
meet up with. He's still alive.
Interesting.
Going strong.
I'm kind of confused about the setup here. So the Night's King, for all intents and purposes, came through, nailed the Lord of the House,
Right, Lord
poor
Ember.
kid,
Right.
on the wall, and then drew that weird symbol. What did you think that symbol
Well,
looked like?
I'm not certain, right? Because that symbol has been represented a few times. They've talked about it a couple of times throughout the series, but we've seen glimpses of that symbol several times when the Night's King was becoming first himself, turning into the Night's King. We've also seen it when they were heading up beyond the wall. So clearly it represents something. We just don't know, especially, I mean, it's not even talked about really in the books at all. So we're still not understanding, but clearly there's something there that he's telling us. We just don't know the true meaning behind it.
The thing is, and we were talking about this earlier, is there really a scenario in which we're going to be satisfied with the answer of who are the Night's King, who are the White Walkers? Like, can we get an answer that's going to be like, yeah, that's cool. That makes a lot of sense.
So?
Yeah?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I am total supporter, as you can see.
Yeah.
Representing.
King.
Isn't his t-shirt awesome?
Yes, this
Winter
is
is
my
here.
Funko t-shirt.
So you think there's going to be an explanation, satisfying one at least. You're hoping.
I'm hoping.
Okay.
I think we're going to get a lot of answers this season, even though it's going to be 6 episodes.
Yeah.
At least I'm hoping.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to jump to Jaime arriving at Winterfell. You mentioned that he wasn't wearing his armor.
No. It looked like he was, maybe trying to blend in. He had the cape up over his head. He really didn't want to be noticed. But now he's in Winterfell, right? I think the great tie-in, though, was when Bran said, "I'm waiting for an old friend."
I know.
And I think that, at least it threw me. I was like, well, who could it be? Who could it be?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you see him just staring at Jaime.
But if you really think about it, there is something about the fact that Jaime started it all. He started pushing Bran. Bran was a crippled, then at some point had to flee King's Landing, then became who he is now, then is just sharing like the truth. Basically, if it weren't for Bran, Jon would never find out anything about his true identity. And if it weren't for Jaime, none of this stuff would have happened.
But we found out that Sam also found out Jon's true identity, right?
But it wasn't like for sure, right? It was like someone wrote it down and everything. But Bran is like seal of approval.
Where would Vision confirm it?
Yes,
right?
but you know, like at this particular point, it did start with Jaime. Jaime started this whole story, so I can imagine that Bran is actually not pissed at Jaime, which is why he calls him his old friend.
Well, it's not Bran anymore, so he wouldn't be mad at Jaime regardless.
Oh yeah, because he's not really Bran as much as that's true.
Anyway, moving on to King's Landing, and Euron has brought back the Golden Company. 20,000 men, 2,000 horses, no elephants.
Can you give us a little like lowdown on what the Golden Company is?
So the Golden Company were exiles that came from Westeros and fled after the Blackfyre Rebellion. They supported Daemon Blackfyre and really... Yeah, Daemon Blackfyre. And really, once he was defeated, they knew that they were going to be ousted and eventually possibly even killed, right? So they fled to Essos and they started a free company called the Golden Company. Now, it's supposed to be the most feared free company, sell swords in all of Essos. In fact, they could theoretically stand up to the Dothraki. The person that we saw, the leader of that company, is Harry Strickland, and they call him Homeless Harry in the books. And it's interesting that he is being shown because he really wasn't someone that was necessarily known for his strategy or military smarts, right? Curious to see how that kind of plays out. Also curious to see, they weren't supposed to come back to Westeros until another Blackfyre was going to take the throne. They try to tie in some things, and obviously they change things when they need to. So maybe the showrunners are thinking that, potentially the Free Company is coming back because the true king, Jon.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to play that out.
One thing, though, about the company coming in and Euron just saying, hey, promise is a promise, that kind of thing. I thought Cersei was such a genius in this moment because I was like, why is she sleeping with him? She doesn't really have to. He can't really make her, but she's sort of like, oh yeah, let's do it. But really, she's setting herself up so that she can explain the fact that she's knocked up. And she's say, oh look, I have a baby from this guy that's not my brother.
She's definitely, I'm in agreement with you, she's definitely, I think, tricking people, and even Euron himself into thinking like, oh, this is your baby, right? So, hey, we're kind of in this together. There is no leaving me type thing. I need your Iron Fleet.
It's interesting that it seems like she's also written off Jaime because she's sending Bronn to kill her brothers with an S, because we were discussing whether it was, because I was like, is it the brother or brothers? And it sounded that it was an S, which means Tyrion definitely, but Jaime too. And I'm like kind of shocked that she would.
I am and I'm not, though, because she did say,
though,
hey, if you betray me again, that's it,
I just
right?
felt like it was an empty kind of. And
also
she's sending Bronn, like the guy that they have a better relationship with than she does. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's not thinking this through. Like, Bronn is not...
Or maybe she is.
Bronn is not doing it. Bronn, for real, there's no scenario in which I see him killing either of them.
Well, I think Bronn touched upon it in other episodes as well, where he says, he's a survivor. So he chooses the winning side. Yeah. If he sees that Cersei's going down or the Lannisters are going down...
Yeah, but he's also not done. Like, if we're going to say, like, who's one of the smartest people in the kingdom, like, Bronn is one of them. So I would say, like, in his mind, if he's going to think... Look, she's never going to let me live.
True.
Right? Like, there's no scenario in which I'm going to be rewarded and safe if she's alive. And he knows that either with Tyrion or with Jaime, he's going to be alive.
Well,
like, those guys... Survive. Yeah, but those guys are not going to try to kill him after the fact. No. So in the long run, I think he's going to just play the long game and say, I'm not taking, the word of this one who clearly has betrayed a lot of people, including her own brothers, and she's going to be loyal to me? No. Not gonna happen.
I thought it was interesting though. Why did they give him Joffrey's crossbow?
What was I did not make that association.
I thought because she said it was ironic, right?
Oh.
Because isn't that the crossbow that Tyrion used to kill his father?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's what it was.
Maybe that's it.
That's why I was asking, is it brother or brothers? Because I thought, well, if it's brother, then it makes sense because Tyrion killed the father with the crossbow, and then he gets killed with the crossbow.
So that's just Lannister Slayer.
Yes, apparently.
Moving on to Winterfell. So I have a few things to talk about there because there are a lot of things that happened.
A lot of things happened.
But mostly, Daenerys and Jon arrive with everyone else. First of all, I love the dragons flying over, and then her little smirk of like,
those are my babies. That's her thing. Like, she's like, I love that they're all looking at her like, and then the dragons come and it's like, you were saying?
You're already super impressed when the Unsullied come in and the Dothraki are riding in, and then all of a sudden you see the dragons and you're like,
okay.
Okay.
I see where you're going with this. I like
She's pretty powerful.
I know that multiple times in this episode, they're like, the North, they don't trust anyone, the North. I'm like, North trusts whoever the tells them what to do. Like, Ramsay came along and they weren't all looking at him weird. They didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. They just followed orders.
But he was from the North. But I get what you're saying. Because for me, probably growing up the North, you've been warring against the Southern Kingdoms, right? Everybody from the neck down is a Southern Kingdom.
True.
So, but as soon as I see those dragons, I forget all about that. Yeah. Like, I know what I've heard.
They flee.
Yeah.
You find the light, so to speak.
Lots of reunions. Jon and Bran, who he's like, I'm not Bran anymore. And and he's like, also, stop talking. We don't have time. Just get to it. Like the Night's King. It has broken down the wall. He's on his way.
Right. Stop the touchy-feely.
Yeah. And then we have the Tyrion and Sansa reunion.
I did not like Sansa this episode.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Why?
I just thought she was very, cold for no freaking reason. Like, look, I feel like everyone who's never seen a white, well, except Cersei, who has her own challenges, keeps running their mouths and say, oh, I can't believe you gave up your throne. I'm like, we're trying to live here, Everybody has an attitude, and I think they have an attitude because they've never really had to deal with the threat, the real threat, every single time. And I feel that that's her attitude.
It's like, we've seen it. We understand.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's hard for us as viewers of the show to really kind of separate it, right? Because Sansa hasn't seen it. She hasn't seen anything beyond the wall. I mean, she barely got to the wall, and then she's still trying to fight, as they made mention in the show, for her family, which I get to a point. But I thought, going back to it, I thought that really her and Tyrion would have been a little bit more heartfelt, a little bit more talking back and forth about kind of the things that transpired and how they got there. They just touched on it, and then they kind of just moved on. So I was a little disappointed with that reunion.
She did that thing at the end of the scene between her and Tyrion that I hate when they do in TV shows, when the one character is like, I thought you were smart, and then walked away versus saying, your sister is not coming, right?
She did say that, though.
But she was that's an important conversation to have. You don't just fling it and walk away and say, and then...
I disagree.
And then followed by her sister saying, she's the smartest person I know. I don't know about this. This is Sansa was not on my list today. It's just not on my list.
Why, Sandrine? Why do you disagree?
Because she said, I thought, you believed her. I thought you were a smart guy.
And
Meaning,
walked away. Like,
yeah,
no, like...
but meaning she's not coming.
I still feel like Tyrion's still holding out that even though it's Cersei, that she's a Lannister, and they've got strong family ties too, just like the Starks, right? So he's thinking, hey, Jaime's up here, or maybe, he doesn't know for sure, but it was kind of touched on that he might be coming up. I'm up here. She did promise her men to come up here, so she's going to come up here. I showed her the threat, but I mean, I get what you're saying. But just because you hang out with Littlefinger doesn't mean you're the smartest person in the Seven Kingdoms.
That's true. That is a very good point. And honestly, I don't see it. I don't think Sansa is one of the smartest people I've ever seen. Like, she's not. She's made a lot of bad decisions. A lot of bad decisions. She survived. She's a survivor. The smartest person in the kingdom? No.
Okay. Guess we'll move on to the Arya and Jon reunion, which...
Oh, that's cute. What do you think she's going to be up to, Arya? Because we don't really know her goals now. I mean, obviously she wants a sword to be made for herself. Or was it a sword? Or was it a bow?
I kind of felt like it was a projectile of some sort.
Oh, like a...
I almost felt like, was her thought to take down now the dragon, right? The Night King's dragon. The
well,
undead
did she know at that point?
Well, I'm only assuming based
maybe
upon maybe some of the correspondence that's happened, there's got to be talks about, hey, the Night's King has a dragon now. So what do we do? And there's also been talk about, oh, we've got all this obsidian. We got all this dragon glass. Okay, so she's putting together 2 and 2 being probably the most elite warrior or the one with the most
assassin
experience,
on the very least.
right?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. What I also think is what she's potentially thinking of is, I need to be able to take down that one of those dragons.
Right.
If one day it comes down to it, I need to be able to take down one of those dragons. That would also make a lot of sense too, because she's all about. She said it herself.
What would our D&D group do?
Listen, she follows a very Ralphil path. I mean,
Ralphil is his character in our D&D campaign. And would Ralphil do that?
Ralphil would look at every option in order to survive, but also take out the biggest threat or be prepared for the biggest threat.
But she says it. She's like, she's all about her family. Right?
Right.
And I don't think it's Night's King she was talking about. I think she's talking about Daenerys and her dragons. I think she sees that as a big threat.
I think that that's potentially it. I think also because she hasn't seen yet the Night's King or the undead, that she doesn't know how real that threat is.
Yeah. But she sees this threat in front of her.
Sure.
And she sees how real that is. So, yeah, I see it.
I just wanted to have a little short discussion about the proposal that Davos... Tyrion and Varys had, where they were trying to mate Jon and Daenerys.
By the way, probably one of my most favorite scenes of the entire episode, just because to me, as we're kind of talking about the great minds, you've got such great characters, and they are great minds in their own right, and they're trying to come up with, how do we guide these newcomers, right? These young kids.
These new rulers.
Yes. How do we make them better rulers for the Seven Kingdoms? And so I think that scene just touched on the potential of what could happen later on.
I know, but they also don't know the facts, so to speak.
Not yet.
No.
No, not yet. It's true, not yet. Which leads to the flying with the dragons. First of all, I was so sad when the dragons wouldn't eat, because I'm like, oh, poor baby, you're just sad that your brother died, and then you don't like the cold, and it's like...
They're just not, they're just grumpy right now. Jon is I'm not saying thick. It's not the word. He's just not putting a lot of things together.
Well,
okay, because...
But then Daenerys is not really putting...
Yes, I feel like a lot of people are not putting a lot of things together.
Well, why do you say that? Explain,
Because Jon flying a dragon, and for all intents and purposes, not being a Targaryen, I feel like it's a big deal that, Daenerys is very cash about it, and she shouldn't. She should be like, what the how is this possible? And he should be like, how is this possible?
Now, here's a question, and I don't know the answer to, but was there ever a mention in the book, do Targaryen ever marry outside of their...
They do.
And then if they do, can their companion fly the dragons that they have?
Their companion that they're married to? No. But the offspring could potentially.
Could, okay.
The World of Ice and Fire actually touches on that. And in fact, History of Westeros, which is a great YouTube, they actually go into a little bit more detail about different families outside of the Targaryens that do fly dragons.
Okay.
So, but they still have that blood, right? That same High Valyrian blood, and so the dragons accept them.
So history check. In the world in which they live in, is it common knowledge that dragons belong to Targaryens?
Yes.
Is it common knowledge that dragons were ridden by Targaryens?
Yes.
So a lot of people are not putting two and two together. That's my point.
I also think that maybe Jon's thinking, hey, this is the mother of dragons.
Maybe she told them, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Does she talk to them telepathically? I don't know, right? But I'm with her, and he's smelling, him being Rhaegal is smelling me, and I'm good, and I'm going to attempt this. So she does say, though, hey, it was nice knowing you,
I know,
right?
I know.
So she's like, I don't really know what's going to happen here.
Or in D&D terms, he rolled a 20 on animal handle.
Nat 20.
Nat 20. And you know what? But there's a moment, though, when he takes control of his dragon and brings him down. And you see her...
Does he take control?
Yeah, you see him pull the spikes a little
I wasn't
bit.
certain that he took control or he was just
thought
holding on for dear life,
yeah,
right?
I mean, no, I got the whole holding down for dear life. But in that particular moment, you can see him and... You know, check the tapes, guys. You'll see him like turn the spikes.
I thought he was just
and he brought it down. So, and she had a moment where she looked back and she's like, "Did this mother just control the dragon and bring him down?"
Really? I thought he was just
We're going to have to, Sandrine and I need to watch that again.
Yeah,
Check the tapes.
because I don't know, it's two
Check the
against one.
tape.
I'm
No,
just-
look, I am very confident in this. I saw it, and you all saw it, except these two. So comment below and say, Americ was right. # Americ was right.
How do we feel about the relationship between Jon and Dany?
I mean, do you ship them? You ship them, right?
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah.
Not like...
I think for some reason I'm more concerned about the Night's King and all of that coming that I'm like,
you don't really
we don't
care?
really have time for this kind of thing. I'm just like, okay, just deal with it. What's happening?
How do you feel about this?
You know, it's just like TV, right? They're putting the two biggest characters, in my opinion, together. Is it gonna last? No. We all know.
Varys said, he actually said in this episode, they'll remember or they'll realize that nothing lasts.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's
And
so...
maybe that's a setup for how George Martin has done it with his other characters, right? As everybody knows, he's not afraid to kill anyone off. No one's safe.
Here's the thing. I think we just haven't had enough episodes for this to be an epic love story in any way. So I don't think as the audience we have enough to be like, oh my god, this is so great. Like, this is scratching all...
But there's also so much that's going on. Like, and then the dragon, like, looking at him so creepily.
So can we talk about that? What was your take on that?
On the dragon looking like, get off my mom kind of thing?
I just thought it was funny because it just looked like, I'm going to kill you. Or like, just...
See, my take was...
Okay.
Maybe Drogon has put it together that Jon is a Targaryen. Maybe he was looking at him a little bit more intently like, my mom's accepted you. You just rode my brother. Let me take a closer look at this guy. Now, we know he did smell him.
Is that why he was smelling? Yeah, he was...
So maybe he recognizes, hey, this guy's got Targaryen blood.
Wouldn't he have noticed? Because he let Jon pet him before.
True.
So wouldn't he have noticed, like...
But he's mixed.
Back?
He's mixed. Maybe that throws him off. He's not a pure Targaryen.
I don't think that would throw
Here's
him
my
off.
thing.
He's a dragon.
Is it possible that one of the dragons basically switches allegiance from Daenerys to Jon?
Absolutely. In the History of Westeros book, there's actually the dance of dragons, right? And really what that was the two Targaryen families who both thought that they had the right to be the monarch were fighting to see who could potentially rule. And so you had dragon against dragon. And you had those dragons that were brothers and sisters or grew up in the same, let's call them litter, that ended up fighting each other. So that is a potential thing that could happen.
Their brother is already going to come and fight them.
Yeah.
Their undead brother.
Right.
You know one thing though? When I saw those dragons on top of Winterfell, first thought I had, Bran is going to warg into one of them. It's happening. I see it. It's gonna... Okay, I'm gonna make one of my famous predictions, guys.
So pretty much that's not happening.
Okay, alright, just to relax. I predict that in this season, there will be an instance where Bran wargs into one of the dragons.
Comment below. Hashtag Americ's wrong.
Hashtag blame Americ also. And then, finally, the biggest moment I think of the episode is, first Sam meeting Daenerys.
Oh, man.
And it was like sweet because at first she's like, thank you for saving Jorah.
And then it kind of
And then it kind of like, yeah, you know, the Tarleys. And it's like, oh.
So I killed your family.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Good news! You're the true heir now of the Tarleys. Well,
Right.
actually, technically, no. He did go to be part of the Watch, so he's not part of the family anymore, right?
Right. Well, I mean, he has no claim on his house, right? So on his seat. What I was thinking of, does little Sam now have that claim? Is he now next in line?
No.
Now, we know that that's not really Sam's, but no one else knows. His mom,
That's true.
Sam, knows.
And there's no other
There's no other male. So now little Sam is the heir.
That's possible.
But one thing I didn't like was Sam's initial reaction to when he found out that his father was dead. His father was a dick.
Yeah.
So,
He
not
was-
that I was expecting him
yeah.
to cheer,
Yeah.
but I didn't expect him to get maybe emotional. But with his brother, I got it.
Yeah, but he wasn't like
He wasn't crushed.
good. He was just like, oh. And then he said, well, at least now my brothers,
That's it.
you know, that, then he kind of went like, well, you know.
Yeah, he did get over it fairly
Yeah.
quickly.
He was like, oh.
And then he was
And then
crushed.
it's like, yeah, your brother's not alive either. So. Sorry.
Right.
You
It
know.
was just sad.
Yeah, it was sad. But it did set up this scenario where now I have to go talk to Jon.
Jon now knows who he is. And I was just like, poor Jon, who's like, I don't want to be king. You're like, I don't want to be king. I don't even want to be king of this. And now it's like, no, you're king of everything.
Yeah.
Here. And he's like, I never wanted this.
Right.
So it's just, but Sam does ask a good question when he said, you give up your crown to save your people, would she do the same? So he's asking, like, if she knew that you are the real heir to the throne, would she bend the knee to you?
I
I'm not sure.
I suspect that knowing Jon, he's not going to tell Daenerys. It's going to be awkward because he definitely cannot keep sleeping with her. If you think about it, like, Jon is not hungry for power, right? Like,
Right.
that's not who he is. So he's going to play it out and say, like, what is going to come out of me telling everyone that, hey, turns out, not even a Stark,
Well-
I'm a Targaryen, and I'm really the true ruler of the kingdom. It's also hard to prove. Extremely
That's the
hard
thing.
to
I was
prove.
going to say it's really hard to prove, and it's not really relevant right now.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to create this friction or any kind of
Complication.
tension when you're trying to fight like something
True.
much bigger than
True.
this. So that might not come into play until like later on in
True.
the season.
But if they get married, then the claim couldn't be more
That's
solidified,
true.
right? So I don't even know if we're going to get to that point because I think that
Maybe
one
he'll
or
ask
two,
her to marry him. Actually,
Maybe.
that'll like push him.
and maybe he doesn't have to say anything at that
yeah.
point.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think one or both will be killed. I've got some theories behind that.
What are your theories?
Well,
Oh well.
I think that might be for another episode.
What?
Oh! Cliffhanger? Oh my god.
John's whole thing is this is not important. None of this is important. Me being a lord, he said it, right? Me being the
yeah.
king, not important. Me being, but prior to that, when he was debating whether or not, when Stannis presented, hey, we'll make you Lord of Winterfell, not really important.
Yeah.
So this, again, is just, it's information overload for him, and he's just like, I don't even know what to do with this right now. I don't care. Let's just take care of the Night's King.
Yeah.
Because the Night King will take care of you.
That was it for this episode. Good return.
Good.
Are you guys
I like this
excited?
episode. I really
It was great. A
Yeah.
lot of reunions, a lot of things
Yeah.
that were kind of firmed up, tied together. A lot of, for me personally, the Jon Arya, coming together. Just so much of that story that we needed to see as fans kind of come to fruition. I loved it.
Only 5
short.
after this, so
It's crazy.
We're coming to an end. Too
All
short.
right.
okay.
Well, Eric, thank you.
Thank you.
You did an honorable job
Yes.
representing
Kenny
the book
will
readers.
be very proud.
Kenny will be proud or jealous.
This
know
just
his
means this just means Kenny owes me in D&D. That's what this means.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. As a DM, Kenny, like, how many points is this? I'm just gonna put it out
Lots.
there.
5 points.
5 points.
You better keep going.
Of course, we want to know what you guys thought of the episode as well. So let us know in the comments. You can also follow us all on Instagram. I think mostly we're all
Instagram,
Are you
Twitter.
more active on Twitter?
I'm more active on Twitter.
So Twitter, Instagram. We'll have the link in the description. Yeah, sorry guys that we've been gone, but we decided to be back just for Game of Thrones. So we'll be back next week for another review.
Next week. With Kenny or Eric or both. Who knows?
Maybe a
Maybe it'll
surprise
just
guest.
be them. Maybe a surprise guest, that's true.
I know. Ooh.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Oh no, Daenerys died again.
Now, look.